Hi everybody! We're going to get started with our puppet lesson. So in this video, you're going to learn how to create a hand puppet. You're going to sculpt the head out of newspaper and masking tape. And then we're going to use paper mache to create the skin over the puppet head. You'll learn how you can paint details and put facial features on your puppet. And we will also create a fabric body so that your fingers can be the puppet arms. To get started, the first thing you have to do is gather all your tools. To make the puppet, you're going to need a paper towel roll or a toilet paper roll. I'm sure you're all using lots of that right now. You'll want some masking tape, some newspaper, hopefully you've got some in the recycling bin, a scissors, a paper bag, just from the grocery store, and a cone. This isn't absolutely necessary, so if you don't have one of these, that's okay. The next thing you're going to want to do is do some brainstorming or some thinking, imagining what your puppet character could look like. Spend a little bit of time closing your eyes, imagining, developing in your mind's eye your ideal puppet character. So I was really excited about creating an elephant. So I created a sketch of the head of the elephant. Here, I thought through the shape that I wanted the ears to be, the shape that I wanted the head to be generally, and then I want to make sure that I have the trunk, because that's sort of the quintessential characteristic of an elephant. I also decided I wanted some really subtle and gentle eyes. Once you've got the sketch, you have a really great two-dimensional plan to work from as you create your three-dimensional sculpture. So I'm always going to refer to my sketch. I'm going to keep it nearby me so that I can keep looking at my sketch and it will help. It will help me as I sculpt. All right, now that I've got my sketch, I'm going to get started on creating the structure for my puppet. So I've got a toilet paper tube here. I'm going to give it a little slice right down the middle there. And I'm going to fit this tube around my two puppet fingers. Okay, this is going to be the neck of my puppet. So you might want to get an adult's help here. Get yourself a couple pieces of tape. You're going to fit it around your fingers like so. You want it to be kind of tight, not too tight. Just a little snug, and then open it up just a little bit. You're going to use some masking tape to secure that tube to the right size. Okay, great. So now that you've got your tube, you're going to get started creating the form for the head. You're going to grab some newspaper, start balling it up. You get to squeeze and squish and pinch it, and you're going to start building it up around the neck. You want to make sure that you're securing it to the tube, not just creating a ball and then trying to stick it to that, because you'll end up with some problems. So as you are creating the ball, you want to tape it right to the neck of your puppet. So this is a little tricky. So if you need an adult's help, that is a-okay. You want to hold your neck and the newspaper at the same time. So you're going to be kind of squishing it shut, pinching the air out of it, and securing it to the neck. Now, sculpting with newspaper is probably something you haven't seen before, but we can use the newspaper just like clay or just like Play-Doh to create all different kinds of shapes. We're just going to start with the basic ball, and then we're gonna build up from there. So you can sculpt just like you would with Play-Doh or clay and create all different kinds of shapes. Just keep taking the newspaper and adding layers until you have the desired shape. Again, it might be helpful to just get yourself a bunch of different pieces of tape. Just like that. So you can just keep taping it together as you go. All right, so that's a good start. Now, does this look like an elephant yet? No, not quite yet. There's still all kinds of things we have to build onto here, such as ears, right? So that's where we always want to refer back to our sketch and see if we're kind of getting in the same general shape as our sketch. All right, so now I've got the trunk, I've got the face, I've got an ear. I still got to keep going with another ear. I'm going to show you how I do that. It's important to create a little more character with your puppet is to think about 2 or 3 facial features that are important for your character. So for me, it's the ears of my elephant, it's the trunk of my elephant, okay? You might have a nose or a snout or something that you'd like to incorporate into your puppet. Just make sure that you have something that makes it unique. So once again, I want to get myself a bunch of tape and I'm going to keep sculpting. I want to get this ear on there. So I kind of want to match it to the other ear. So I am just crunching it, pinching it, shaping it until I have the shape that I want. I really like sculpting newspaper because it can really just take whatever shape you tell it to. All right, so now we're getting a little closer to the desired shape. Ideally, in order to paper mache, I would have the whole surface covered with tape. So see if you can cover up all of the newspaper. Okay, now that we've got our puppet head sculpted and taped, now we're ready to move on to paper mache. Making the paper mache paste ahead of time will ensure that it's cooled by the time you're ready to use it. We're going to use the cooled paper mache paste in combination with the paper bags to create the paper mache skin over the top of the masking tape. So there are a lot of different ways to paper mache. If you talk to any puppeteer, they all have a slightly different method. I learned my method from puppeteers Allison Heimstead and Mark Safford. And of course, I've created a little bit of my own spin on it since then. What I like to do is get myself a pile of the paper bags. I like to rip medium-sized pieces. This is a little bit messy. It's kind of fun to do this part outside in the sun, and then your puppet will dry a lot faster. Just beware of the wind. All of your little pieces can get blown away. It's also really important that we are tearing our paper bag instead of cutting it with the scissors, because just the little bit of the tear, the soft edge of the paper bag, helps it connect with the other pieces. All right, so now that I got myself a nice pile here, I'm going to wrinkle it up, loosen up the fibers. I like to just, the sound effects help too. And I'm just gonna dip my fingers in the paper mache paste and then rub it in to the paper bag. Now, you gotta get your hands messy for this step, okay? But don't worry, it's just cornstarch and water. It's gonna dry. It's gonna make your hands feel a little weird at first. Then you can just wash it off, no problem. All right, so you're gonna grab your puppet head and you're gonna start applying the pieces of paper bag. I like to do it so the text or any of the imagery on the bag isn't showing. So I'm going to start applying it to the surface of the tape. And then as I add more pieces, I'm going to overlap them. Loosening up the paper bag fibers helps to get into all the little nooks and crannies so that it's not a stiff paper bag. As much as possible, I want to smooth it down so I don't have any air between the paper bag and the masking tape. If you have any trouble spots, such as here, where a facial feature is connecting to the head, just use smaller pieces and be patient with yourself. Paper macheing is super fun to do because you can pretty much do it and keep talking with your friends or talking with your family, and before you know it, you've got the entire thing covered. So what I'm doing is I'm rubbing the paper mache paste on both sides of the bag, okay? It's not just on one side. You want to saturate the paper bag with the paste. And if it's a thicker paste, you'll have an easier time because it'll be super sticky, and that's good. Are we having fun yet? I hope so. Sometimes you're going to want really small pieces, but in other spaces, a big piece will be okay. You just have to see if you're able to smooth it down over the surface. And if not, try a smaller piece. All right, once you've got the main surface covered, you can go around and do a little extra massaging around the edges. Make sure you've got the paper bag nicely rubbed in there and smoothed out. Okay, so now we can go set this out in the sun or near a fan and we can let it dry. It takes anywhere between 2 and 25 hours depending on how wet it is outside. So just be patient, and when it's all dry, then we can start painting. Cool. Well, thanks so much for following me on this journey to make your own puppet, and stay tuned for the next step. Bye!